CEO of TALEM speaks of the cost-cutting measures for TALEM employees. Member of Parliament for the National Alliance says it is not true that they take home $10,000 monthly. But first up, Prime Minister of St. Martin gives an update of her meetings in the Netherlands. Those are the headlines for Wednesday, July the 15th, 2020. Welcome, viewers. This is SXM Daily News. I am Valerie Van Putten, thanking you so much for joining me this evening. And as usual, we have a packed newscast for you, so let's get started. In our first story, Prime Minister of St. Martin, the Honourable Sylvia Jacobs, is back from her trip to the Netherlands, where she defended St. Martin's position and where she stood her ground for the liquidity support and the reforms that the Netherlands are trying to impose. The Prime Minister also updated the press this morning about her trip and her vision for St. Martin at the Council of Ministers weekly press briefing.
Prime Ministers, we felt it pertinent to visit personally and defend our country's position. And all three countries stood ground in the sense that while we do agree that reforms are necessary, we see that the separation of COVID-19 liquidity support from any possible reforms as necessary for the future. The reforms being proposed are reforms that are already on our individual agendas. As a matter of fact, St. Martin has finalized its National Development Vision, which will be launched this Thursday. And this will be launched from the Department of BAC to me as Prime Minister and to the Chairman of Parliament, Mr. Rolando Bryson. Once that has been launched on Thursday, the public will be able to go online and view and peruse this National Development Vision. Our government program is also linked to this vision and would be the first 4 years of this 10-year vision. The vision is 2020 to 2030. I also informed the Kingdom Council of Ministers as to St. Martin's steps, that the steps we have been taking in realizing the necessary reforms, including our discussions with the unions over this negotiation period with the budget cuts and the cuts that would come to civil servants and others that, and they highlighted to us areas that they want us to work on, and we were able to convince them as well that these points and these topics regarding the cost of living, regarding the cost of rent, regarding wages and the poverty line, the baskets of goods, all of these reforms fall within what this government is prepared to do and has been working on. So once that vision has been made public and we can inform and educate our population as to where St. Martin plans to go for the next 10 years, we believe that then once we have shown the correlation or the comparison with the Landspakketten that have been presented under this entity by the Netherlands, which in principle we don't have an issue with the Landspakketten in general terms, but we need more time to see how they will fit in with our national development vision and what we have as priority, country St. Martin, for our development, especially as we go towards diversification of our economy, more technological inputs in all areas, streamlining our government organization and building on the strength that we have, as well as improving what may be weaknesses. As such, we've also, Rolika and the rest, also the media, who is here this morning, good morning. We have also on the policy platform that was launched several months ago, the first policy writing workshop coming out from BAC, under the Ministry of General Affairs, and it is a policy writing workshop for all policy writers within government organizations. And thereby, we aim to empower our civil servants to be more effective and efficient and be able to ensure that all our what we do and how we do it is fully supported in policy documents which can be easily brought forward to the public and that they would understand how things are functioning.
Meanwhile, Minister of Finance, the Honourable Ardwell Irion, also updated the press about financial issues, including the salary package for civil servants and conditions that have to be met in order for the SSRP to be released for the continued support for the island. The update was made at this morning's Council of Ministers press briefing as well.
We have we had a couple of conditions to meet. One was a 12.5% and the salary package of the civil servants, 25% for ministers and MPs. Also, to have the calculation done for the CEOs, CFOs, and CEOs of what we have termed the Jacob's norm, so not more than 130% of the total salary package of the Prime Minister, the AOV law, and I'll give an update on that. So we have made the calculations for the 130%. They will be sent, or probably have already been sent this morning. One other condition that we had to do was change the execution of the SRP. We have also done the regulation, was approved by COM yesterday and has been sent to the CFTA also. So we should be getting the promised 29 million guilders for the continued support of the SRP, hopefully within a few days. We are now also, we have been, even over the weekend, in discussions with SLV to be able to come up with a proper explanation to the employers on what the new payroll support conditions are. And yes, it has been made a little bit more difficult to explain, but we will do a full campaign on this in the next couple of weeks. We've also set in the calculations for the cuts of the 12.5% and the 25%. So all in all, we are on track with most of the conditions. We are expecting the AOV law to be in Parliament this week, if I'm not mistaken also. I'm happy to hear that the discussions in the Netherlands with the Prime Minister, with our fellow islands, Aruba and Curacao, went well, and that we are going to come up with one point of departure when it comes to the conditions, supervisory oversight over the money and the funds for the SRP and the continued support of government. I believe that we already have a pretty good system in place with multiple checks and balances, and the government is also making the necessary cuts within the organization, and also streamlining the organization, and also looking at technology to make it more efficient.
In other news at this time, as we continue this evening with our series with the director of the NRPB, Mr. Claret Connor, on the contractors, we asked the director about where the NRPB gets the contractors from that are chosen to work on the various projects. He expounds.
We have all of the bids are public bids, right? And they're different ways of executing public bids. And till now, all of the contractors that we have hired are local contractors, all, right? And that in itself, I think, is something that we should be proud of, number one. But it does not come without a challenge. And obviously, when you talk about implementing a sort of a project like a home, a private home, mind you, it requires a different type of approach. Because if we were only focusing on SMHDF, we know they have an inventory of homes, and all of them, or most of them, are like. So you have blocks of similar type of country. That's easy, right? Because all you have to do is count, and then you know if you have 16 of a particular type of unit with 4 windows and 3 different types of windows, it's 16 times 3, you know, across the board. But when you talk about a person's home, private home, that's a different approach, and it's very complicated in the sense that you have to, as soon as you touch it, you own it, right? Government set a criteria that persons must use, or that we had to work within in order for persons to become eligible for home repair.
And still to come, Minister Avromi gives update of the fire that broke out earlier today at the dump, hurricane cleanup, and the hurricane shelters. You'll have the details to that story and much more when SXM Daily News returns.
GEBE has been faithfully serving the communities of St. Martin, powering your home and our economy. Come rain or shine, our qualified team of professionals are working hard 24 hours a day to provide you and your family with safe, reliable electricity and water. We use the latest technologies and test our products daily to maintain the highest international standards. Our friendly staff is always there to assist you, whether in person, over the phone, or online. We are committed to constantly improving our products and services, making them more efficient, effective, and environmentally friendly to serve you better today and our next generation of clients tomorrow. GEBE, powering a brighter future.
Our friend Megawati is here with tips to save you energy. 1. Turn your airco temperature up. 2. Use a ceiling fan instead. 3. Buy energy-saving products. Save some green with NVGEBE.
Member of Parliament for the National Alliance, Mr. Christophe Emmanuel, speaking on the program Online with Fernando Clark, says it is not true that members of Parliament on St. Martin takes home US $10,000 monthly. The Member of Parliament says it is definitely not the fact. He says, however, that the CFO of the Schiphol Airport in the Netherlands gets an exorbitant amount of money and is questioning the CFO's salary. According to the MP, the CEO of the airport, Mr. Brian Mingo, has to go, as it is a slap in the face for every airport worker.
Members of Parliament making too much, and members of Parliament this, and members of Parliament and I get a big fat check. No, we don't get 10,000. No, it's not true. It's not true. I don't go home with $10,000. I don't. Now one would say, yeah, but that's what the gross is, or that's what the net is, and one would say that. But there's a reason why I'm coming with that tonight. Now, but I need someone to explain to me. How is it that Schiphol NVBV could send an invoice? No, let me try to change it around. Because making $18,000 is a bad thing for members of Parliament. Then explain to me, how is it that more than 60,000 guilders is a good thing for a CFO to make on an airport?
That is not a St. Martin.
How much is it?
60,000 guilders.
60?
60.
No.
And there's a reason why. It's a reason why I polarize the figure. And that's why I asked for the exchange rate between guilder and euro. Because for that, no, there's an invoice. Princess Juliana International Airport. This invoice, okay? Invoice CFO position, quarter 2, 2020 St. Martin. St. Martin people, here the figure of this invoice: 37,920 euros. That's the invoice.
Wait.
Okay, the invoice says, payment to be effected within 30 days of invoice date for each month or part thereof. Payment is made later, the debtor will be charged 1% interest. I want you to hear me good, because nobody in St. Martin, Prime Minister, Governor, Ombudsman, members of Parliament, ministers, not one of them, none. 37,000 euros, $920. You want to tell me Mingo ain't got some explaining to do? And then you're telling the airport workers, you harass them, you belittle them, you disrespect them. They had to march on you, march by the government building. You kept them outside, locked outside for hours, and then you're going to go in and say you understand them. And you got liquidity issues, you got liquidity problems. And tell you, Mingo got to go. What this is a slap in the face of each and every airport worker. But I ain't done with him yet, because Mingo doesn't understand. I just want to keep quiet. And I don't want to harass nobody. Okay? But Mingo explained to me why 4 individuals on the airport renting cars for 1 month, and each one I have an invoice of $900+ a month for renting vehicles. 4 are you? Why? And then you're telling airport workers they can't get the money. And don't try to shove it up because I got the evidence here to prove it.
And in more news for you at this time, Minister of Romy, the Honorable Ekba Doran, at this morning's weekly Council of Ministers press briefing, gave the press an update about the fire that broke out earlier at the dump, the 2020 hurricane season cleanup, and the repairs of the hurricane shelter.
Yesterday, on Tuesday the 14th, at approximately 6 a.m., a fire erupted on the sanitary landfill. The Department of Infrastructure Management managed to have the fire under control in a very short period, applying the posi shell material. Use of this application stopped the fire from getting worse, from flaring up and smoking. This material is a mixture of posi shells, cement, and water, which mitigates and prevent the surface fires. As of Sunday, July 5th, the 2020 hurricane season cleanup has commenced. In regards to this, I would like to advise the general public to take notice of the flyer with the schedule, which all will be included and published in the local newspapers and in the social media platforms, namely the Ministry of Romy Facebook page. The haulers will be collecting the debris from the districts per schedule, so please pay attention to the schedule. It is imperative for the public to utilize these efforts and also put their material by the bins. Consider the fact that we are in a hurricane season, and I'm hereby encouraging everyone to take use of this opportunity. This is all in order to keep St. Martin clean and also ensure the safety of the people. Additionally, while we're on the topic of the hurricane season, I would also like to let the general public know that on Monday, July 6th, the Minister of VSA and myself signed the contract for the start of the reparation of the 4 shelters. The long overdue project has my full attention, and even before me taking this office as Minister of Romy. Although I wish this could have been done earlier, I'm still happy to announce that after many meetings and a lot of back and forth with the NRPB, this project can finally get off the ground. I can assure you that I will do all that is within my power to ensure that this project will be carried out in a timely manner before the peak of the hurricane season.
And as we continue now with this item from the police blotter, the detectives of the Special Unit Robbery Division are investigating 2 separate robberies that had taken place at a restaurant and a supermarket in the Cold Bay area over the weekend. During both robberies, 2 masked men dressed in dark clothing entered the establishment brandishing firearms. After robbing the establishment, the 2 suspects fled on a scooter in an unknown direction. The St. Martin Police Force is requesting any information from persons who may have seen or recognized the suspects connected to this investigation. The more the community comes together to assist in the combat against these crimes, the faster the robber or robbers can be apprehended. The police have noticed an uptick in robberies to various business establishments since the relaxing of the COVID-19 measures. Here are some suggested measures persons and businesses can take to avoid being targeted. The first one is be aware of your surroundings and maintain visibility throughout your store. Develop a cash control program to avoid having a large amount of cash on hand. Be discreet in counting cash and bank deposits. Do this in a safe area. Trust your instincts. If you sense trouble, get away as soon as possible. Don't look like an easy target. Robbers want someone who will provide the least resistance. If you look like you know where you are going, walk with your head up and eyes alert. You will most likely be left alone. Be observant, be aware of persons coming into your business and just standing and observing. Invest in a security alarm. The Special Unit Robbery, SUR, can be contacted via phone by 542-2222, extension 203, 204, 205. The anonymous tip line number is 9300, or persons with information can also send a private message via the police Facebook page, which is Police Force of St. Martin - Corps Politie St. Martin, or website www.policesxm.sx/24/7. Now, let's turn to our weather forecast for today, July the 15th, 2020. Pockets of moisture associated with an approaching trough may cause isolated showers during this forecast period. Meanwhile, the Atlantic high-pressure system will maintain light to moderate winds across the region. Slight to moderate marine conditions are expected for the next few days. So the outlook through Friday midday, partly cloudy with a few passing showers possible. Now, let's turn to your 3-day forecast. And still to come, Minister of Justice receives presentation on ICT system used by immigration at the airport. We'll have the details of that story and more when SXM Daily News returns.
Make use of WIB mobile banking with easy access and direct usage of face recognition, PIN code, or fingerprint. Download WIB mobile banking app and make your transaction from anywhere at any time. For more information, visit wib-bank.net/quick-login.
Welcome back, viewers. This is SXM Daily News. I'm Valerie Van Putten. In an exclusive interview with StMartinNews.com, Chief Executive Officer of the Telem Group of Companies, Mr. Kendall Dupersoy, spoke about the cost-cutting measures for the Telem employees. According to the CEO, one of the first things they did as Telem when they got the advice from government was to get clarification because it said personnel costs. He explains further.
When we got the advice from government, one of the first things that we did as Telem was to get a clarification because it said personnel cost. So we were wondering why, if we want to do a company cost-cutting measures in a company, why do we limit it only to personnel costs? So if you wanted 12.5%, then you should have allowed us to take it from where we want to take it from. By limiting it only to personnel costs, you kind of bind it, especially Telem, because we already have such a tight budget in personnel costs. It is impossible for us to cut personnel costs without cutting some percentage of the salaries of the employees. And that is something that nobody wants to do because some people live based on that salary. So if you're going to take it away from them from one day to the next practically, they're going to have to struggle. Now, if it was a longer process where we could blend it in and do some other things, I know that most of the employees at Telem, they understand the situation it is in, and most of them would be willing to take a small cut here or there and lose some benefits here or there. But for doing it from one day to the next, it was not something that I think most of them were willing to accept, which I understand fully. I didn't expect for them to be cheering me on when I told them that that I have to take how we worked out with the union 1.7% from their salaries if we wanted to get to the 12.5%. We took out all other some other benefits and stuff, or pushed them, delayed them. But what I discussed with the union also is I told the union that yes, we have to do this now, but we're going to have to take some other cost-cutting measures going forward, not only because of COVID, but because of what we discussed earlier in the interview when you said how telecommunications is changing. So my preference in negotiating a CLA with the union would be for us to base our benefits on the financial standing of the company at the time.
And as we continue now with more news, on Monday, the 13th of July, 2020, the Honorable Minister of Justice, Anna Richardson, and her cabinet, accompanied by senior staff of the Ministry of Justice and 2 representatives of Stichting Beheer, which is the foundation that manages ICT for law enforcement on St. Martin, visited the Princess Juliana International Airport. 2 senior border control officers provided Minister Richardson and her delegation with a tour of the immigration areas at the airport. Minister Richardson found a detailed explanation of the immigration check process to be very insightful and commended the officers for their professionalism. During the tour, the minister was especially interested in, among other items, the handling of visitors that overstay their welcome in the country, which can be identified through the use of the Border Management System, the BMS, and in addition to providing immigration with Border Management System, the Foundation also designs, implements, manages, and maintains applications for the police force, the Coast Guard, the Public Prosecutor's Office, the Joint Court of Justice, the Probation and Rehabilitation Service, and the Court of Guardianship. These systems are integrated and support sharing of information within the law enforcement chain of St. Martin. Minister Richardson expressed her commitment to continue to work closely with SBIR to further professionalize the law enforcement, IT, and information chain. Some actions that already have been identified are to further improve the Immigration Department by implementing the Foreigners Management System, the FMS, and to implement an updated administration system for the prison. The release reads in part. And still to come, independence of the seas in port on Wednesday for repatriation of crew. We'll have the details to that story when SXM Daily News returns. And as we end this edition of SXM Daily News for this evening, since Royal Caribbean Cruise Line, RCI, suspended its cruise operations back in March of 2020, the company has made it a priority to repatriate crew members back to their home countries. And on Wednesday, July the 15th, the cruise ship Independence of the Seas was in port for a crew repatriation operation. This will be carried out according to Port St. Martin's sterile port protocol that ensures public health safety and security at the Dr. A.C. Watty cruise and cargo facilities for all incoming vessels at the port. RCI recently stated in a weekly webinar that at the end of June, it had repatriated 95% of its crew members out of 40,000, and by July the 15th, that number will climb to 97%. The cruise industry sector is currently going through unprecedented challenges due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Its impact has also been felt by cruise destinations all around the world. As restrictions are slowly lifted, repatriation of crew operations is taking place at various ports that can handle such procedures. Port St. Martin was chosen due to its strategic location in the northeastern Caribbean, as well as its international connections with airports around the world. The country's infrastructure, such as its home porting facility and services at Port St. Martin, makes it easy for a cruise ship to have travel documents of crews processed and then taken directly to the airport to board their international flight. And with that, viewers, we've concluded this edition of SXM Daily News for this evening. I am Valerie Van Putten, thanking you so much for joining me this evening. And just a reminder that this and other programs are available online. Simply log on to stmartinmediacenter.com for viewing. And on behalf of the SXM Daily News team, we thank you for watching and plan on meeting you right back here again tomorrow.